Hi, I'm Anna, and welcome to BC Stories. So, today's story, I need you to stay with me on this one, because what this woman overheard her fiance saying to her twin sister, it didn't just break her heart. It answered questions she didn't even know she'd been asking for 3 years. She'd given that sister everything, and I mean everything. Before I go on, drop in the comments where in the world you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Let's get into it. The door was open just enough. Not wide, just that careless gap people leave when they feel completely, utterly safe. When the thought of being overheard doesn't even occur to them. Jess sat in the hallway of her sister's apartment building and listened. She hadn't meant to. She'd called Ariana's name when she first came through the entrance. Cheerful, surprised visit energy. But something in the voices stopped her. The tone. Too relaxed. Too unguarded. So she stopped, and she listened. Dominic was talking first. "You know what she texted me this morning?" His voice was warm with amusement. Not malice, that almost made it worse. Just amusement, like he was telling a funny story at a dinner party. She said, "I had a dream we were dancing." Dancing? A short laugh. I sent her a heart. What else was I going to do? And Jess is sitting there in that hallway thinking, she almost didn't send that text. She typed it out, deleted it, typed it again, thought maybe it was too much, too soft. And he sent a heart back, and she smiled at her phone like it meant something. "You're terrible," Ariana said. "I'm practical." "She called me twice yesterday," Ariana continued. "I let it go to voicemail." 2 calls. Jess remembers those calls. The first one was just to say hi. The second one she almost didn't make because she thought, maybe I'm being annoying. Maybe she's just busy. Don't be that person, Jess. "Did you listen to them?" "No." A pause. "I'll call her back sometime this week. Tell her I've been swamped." The casualness of it, that was the thing. They weren't whispering, they weren't tense. This was just how they talked about her. Routinely. Easily. Like she was an administrative task they kept pushing to the bottom of the list. "Do you ever actually feel bad?" Dominic asked. Genuinely curious, not challenging. Ariana was quiet for a moment. "Honestly, no, not anymore. I did at the beginning, when she was still in the hospital and she looked at me and said, 'Go live my life.' That gutted me for about a week. But then I got there, got into her program, met her professors, started living in the world she'd built. And it fit me, Dom, better than it ever fit her. And I thought, maybe this is just how it was supposed to go. That's one way to look at it. It's the only way that lets me sleep." "I keep thinking about who she was before," Dominic said, quieter now. "Before the accident. She was something. You'd be in a room with her and just feel it." "I know," Ariana said, and something flattened in her voice. "I grew up in that room, watching everyone lean toward her just by existing. Do you know what it's like being the other one? That's not her fault." "No, it wasn't, but it wasn't mine either. And I spent 18 years being punished for it anyway." "I used to love her," Ariana continued, quieter, "when we were little, before every dinner conversation became about what Jess got, what Jess was going to become. Her voice didn't crack, it just emptied. At some point, you can only hear your name said as a lesser version of someone else's for so long before something closes in you. Quietly. Like a door you don't even notice shutting." "So when did it close?" "I don't know exactly. I just remember one day looking at her and not feeling it anymore. And then later, resentment. And then the accident happened and she gave me everything, and I thought maybe I'd feel gratitude at least. But mostly, I just felt—" She paused. "Relieved." The word landed in the hallway like something physical. Relieved. And Jess feels her whole chest go tight, like someone just pressed a hand flat against her sternum. Because she knows that word. She's used that word herself to describe how she felt knowing Ariana was out there, living, thriving, building something. She was relieved for her. And now she's hearing it back like a mirror held up at the wrong angle. Not guilty, not conflicted, relieved that her sister was in a wheelchair, relieved that Jess's life had cracked open wide enough to climb inside it. And now, Dominic asked? Now she's just something I manage, like a responsibility I can't fully put down yet. I call when I'm supposed to, I visit when I have to. A pause. But honestly, I stopped thinking of her as my sister a long time ago. And something in Jess just goes quiet. Not numb, not dramatic, just this still, awful clarity. Like when you've been hearing static for so long you forgot it was there, and then it stops, and the silence is worse. Then Dominic said something Jess felt in her spine. She really has no idea, does she? Ariana laughed, soft, almost fond. None. She still thinks I'm her best friend. She texts me good morning almost every day. Good morning, Ari, thinking of you. A pause. I don't always respond. Does she notice? She apologizes for bothering me when I don't, says she knows I'm busy. The sound of their laughter, warm, private, completely at ease, came floating through that half-open door into the hallway where Jess sat. Still, her face wet, her hands folded in her lap, not making a single sound. The Rita thing, though, that I do think about. Dominic's voice dropped. She's in that house every single day. She knows Jess's schedule, her medications, what she eats. Jess trusts her completely. Don't, Ariana said. Ari, Rita just makes sure certain things stay consistent, that the progress stays manageable, firm, final. You know what happens when Jess fully recovers. She wants her life back. She starts asking questions. I'm not going to apologize for self-preservation. The silence that followed was long. Then Dominic said quietly, she blames herself for not getting better. She told me once she felt like her body was betraying her. I know, Ariana said. Just that. I know. The way you'd acknowledge a weather report about a city you'd never visit. That was when Jess reached down, pressed record, took one breath, just one, and pushed open the door. They both turned when she came in. Dominic was on his feet in seconds. Ariana stood slower, and her face did something complicated. Guilt flickered across it, briefly, genuinely, and then hardened into something else. Jess's eyes were red. She hadn't tried to fix her face. She wheeled into the center of that living room and looked at both of them and didn't say anything for a long moment. Jess, Dominic's voice was careful. How did you... The front door uses face recognition, she said quietly. You both forgot that part. Nobody moved. Then Ariana sat back down slowly. Okay, now you know. That's it, Jess said. That's all you have? What do you want me to say? Ariana's voice didn't rise. I'm sorry, Jess. I have been sorry since the day of that accident, and sorry doesn't fix anything. It didn't fix your legs. It didn't fix me. So you fixed it yourself? Ariana didn't answer. You kept me sick, Jess said, not loud, just clear. I kept myself free. The words came out quietly, honestly. You were always going to come back, Jess. You were always going to get better and want your life returned, and I would go back to being the other one, the less impressive one. A pause. I couldn't go back to being the other one. Dominic stepped forward, and whatever softness had lived in his voice out in that hallway was gone. Visiting you is exhausting. Every conversation is your recovery, your pain, your bad week. I couldn't breathe around you anymore. She looked at him. You held my hand in that hospital. You told me nothing would change. A long pause. Then, quietly, "I didn't know then how long it was going to take." There's a particular kind of silence that follows a sentence like that. It's not empty, it's the heaviest thing in the room. Jess sat in it. She looked at her sister, her twin, her same face, the person she'd jumped into dark water for without thinking twice. She looked at the man she'd held onto through 3 years of a body that wouldn't cooperate. She looked at both of them standing in the life she had handed over with both hands. She reached into her bag, slipped her phone into her pocket, turned her chair toward the door. "That's it?" Ariana said. "You're just going to leave?" Jess stopped, didn't turn around. "You spent 3 years trying to keep me in this chair, Ari." Her voice was low and completely, terrifyingly calm. "And you still couldn't keep me down?" She left. She drove home the same way she came, alone. 3 hours. She didn't play music, she didn't call anyone. She just drove and let the road be what it was, long and quiet and hers. 3 hours. And the whole time her brain is doing that thing where it replays everything but rearranges it. Every time Ariana said she was busy. Every time Dominic seemed distracted on the phone, and she told herself, he's just tired, give him grace. Every good morning text she sent into silence and then apologized for. 3 years of moments she'd explained away, now rearranging themselves into something she couldn't unsee. Her hand stayed steady on the wheel, though. That was the strange part. The rest of her was falling apart, but her hands didn't shake once. When she got home, she sat in her kitchen for a while, in the dark, not crying anymore, just thinking. There's a difference between grief that breaks you open and grief that clarifies everything. This was the second kind, the kind that shows you the exact shape of what you've been living inside. She thought about Zoe. And that's the one that really twists in her gut, because Zoe came to her with the truth laid out carefully, respectfully, not as accusation, just as, "Here's what I see." And Jess looked at her and said, "You're overstepping," sent her away. And now she's sitting in this kitchen thinking, "I punished the only person who actually showed up for me because it was easier to believe the lie than to lose everyone at once." Zoe, who had come to her a week ago with a folder of quiet observations, Rita's inconsistencies, Dominic's travel records that never matched the cities he claimed to be in, a phone call Zoe had overheard that she said she couldn't unknow. She'd laid it all out carefully, not as accusation, just as "here is what I've seen." And Jess had sent her away for it. "You're overstepping. Take the week." She sat in her dark kitchen and felt the full weight of that. Then she picked up her phone and called. She stares at Zoe's name on the screen for a long time before she presses call. Her thumb hovers, because this call isn't just an apology, it's an admission that she was wrong, that she chose comfortable blindness over the one person who tried to hand her the truth. Her throat tightens. She swallows once, presses call. Zoe answered on the second ring. "I owe you an apology, a real one. You were right about everything, and I sent you away because I wasn't ready to hear it. And that's on me, not you." Silence. Then, "Are you okay?" "Not yet," Jess said honestly. "But I will be. I need you back, Zoe. I have some things I need to do, and I can't do them alone. I'll be there in the morning." She didn't move fast. That was the thing people always got wrong about Jess Bellamy. They saw the wheelchair and assumed limitation. They didn't understand that the same stillness that had carried her through 3 years of a body that wouldn't cooperate was exactly the quality that made her quietly devastating when she finally decided to move. She moved carefully, deliberately, one thing at a time. She contacted a family law attorney first, someone who specialized in identity law. She brought her original documents, birth certificate, scholarship award letters, medical records predating the accident, the original university correspondence that had always been meant for her. Then she handed over the recording. The university's Academic Integrity Office opened an investigation within the week. Jess had expected it to take months. Bureaucracies move the way they move, but the documentation was airtight, and the recording the office listened to twice. Ariana was called in on a Thursday. By Friday afternoon, Jess received a single email confirming the outcome. Expelled. Every grade voided. 1 semester from the finish line. She read it once, set her phone face down on the counter, and made herself a cup of tea. The detail she hadn't planned, but couldn't have designed better herself. Ariana had spent so many years living under Jess's name that she had almost no academic record of her own. She had, in trying to become her sister, quietly erased herself. No history under her real name, no foundation of her own. She'd hollowed herself out building on someone else's ground. The recording went out next. Not all at once. That was never the plan. Zoe helped her think through the timing. One platform, then another, a few days apart. Measured. Intentional. The piece that spread fastest wasn't the affair. It was Ariana's voice, unhurried and unbothered, saying, "The progress stays manageable." People heard it and understood immediately. Not just what it meant, but what it revealed about the kind of person who could say it that calmly. Rita's file went to Jess's attorney and to the relevant authorities the same week. Jess didn't need to manage that personally. She just needed to make sure it started moving. Dominic's professional world contracted around him the quiet way those worlds do. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a gradual tightening of the circle. People heard the recording. Nobody canceled him in public. They just stopped returning calls. He never showed his face to her again. And somehow that felt exactly right. Not at confrontation with Held, just a chapter that had simply run out of pages. Her parents had left the Bellamy Company to her in their will. She used to think that was guilt. She understood now that they'd simply known, the way good parents sometimes quietly know, that she was the one who could be trusted with it. She hired an operations director she'd been watching for 2 years, handed over authority clearly, then stepped back entirely. For almost 3 months, things were starting to fall back in place when Ariana came. No call ahead, no warning. Just a knock at the door on a Tuesday afternoon, and when Jess opened it, there she was. Same face, older somehow. Smaller than Jess remembered, which didn't make sense except that it did. She looked like someone who had recently discovered that the ground she'd been standing on belonged to someone else. Jess looked at her for a moment, then she moved back and let her in. Not out of warmth, just because a doorway wasn't the right place for whatever this was going to be. Ariana sat on the edge of the couch. She didn't look around the apartment. She kept her eyes on Jess. "I lost everything," she said. Not dramatically, just as a fact. "I know," Jess said. "I don't have a degree. I don't have a record under my own name. I have nothing. 3 years and I have nothing to show for any of it." Jess didn't respond. "I need you to—" Ariana stopped. Started again. "I'm not asking you to undo it. I need something, Jess. Some kind of—" She pressed her lips together. "I don't even know what I'm asking." "I think you do," Jess said quietly. "You're asking me to feel sorry enough for you to help you, the way I always did." Ariana said nothing. "I spent 3 years sending you good morning texts you didn't answer. 3 years apologizing for being too much. 3 years in a chair that should have been a recovery, thinking my body had failed me." She paused. "I'm not angry at you, Ari. I want you to know that. I'm really not. But I also don't have anything left for you. Not even the version of me that would feel guilty about that." Ariana's eyes filled. It was the first time Jess had ever seen her cry without immediately knowing what to do about it. "We were the same person once," Ariana said. Her voice broke on it, just slightly. "We were never the same person," Jess said gently. "That was always the problem." She wheeled herself slowly towards the door, opened it. Ariana looked at her, really looked, and something moved across her face that Jess couldn't name and didn't try to. She left without another word. Jess closed the door, stayed in the quiet of her own apartment, let out a long breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Her shoulders settled, and for the first time in a very long time, the space around her felt exactly the right size. She had relocated in early spring. No announcement, no farewell, just packed what actually mattered, which turned out to be considerably less than she expected, and drove to a city where nobody knew her chair or her sister's face. Zoe came with her. She'd offered, and Jess had said yes without overthinking it. Some decisions are simple when you finally stop complicating them. The new apartment had wide doorways and good light, and a kitchen with a window that faced east. She liked that, the morning sun hitting the counter while she made coffee. It became the rhythm of those first months. Quiet mornings, no obligations, the slow, unfamiliar process of learning what she actually liked when nobody else's needs were shaping the answer. With Rita gone and proper medical care finally in place, the kind that had always been possible, quietly prevented, her body began doing what the doctors had said it could. It wasn't fast, it wasn't dramatic, just slow, genuine progress, the kind that doesn't announce itself. One morning, deep into autumn, the kind of gray morning that asks nothing of you, she stood up from her chair to reach something on the kitchen counter. Not thinking about it, not making it a moment, she just stood, made her coffee, sat back down. And it's only when she sits back down that it hits her. She's staring at the coffee in her hand, thinking, I just did that. I didn't plan it. I didn't brace for it. My legs just did what they were supposed to do. And she wants to cry, but it's not sadness. It's something she doesn't have a word for yet. 3 years of being told her body was the problem, 3 years of apologizing to herself for not healing, and her legs were ready this whole time. So that was Jess's story. And the thing that stays with me long after the story ends isn't the revenge. It's those 3 years. 3 years of waking up and blaming her own body for something being quietly, deliberately done to her. Trusting people who had decided her limitations were convenient. Apologizing to herself for not healing faster. There's something experts call betrayal blindness, this thing where we unconsciously avoid seeing evidence of betrayal from people we deeply depend on. Not because we're naive, because seeing it clearly would cost us more than we feel we can afford at the time. Our minds actually protect us from truths we don't yet have the strength to survive. Jess didn't dismiss Zoe because she was foolish. She dismissed her because she wasn't ready. And there's something deeply, uncomfortably human in that. Most of us have done a version of it, chosen the story that let us keep loving someone over the one that required us to see them clearly. What I find remarkable about Jess is what she did the moment she finally saw it. She didn't collapse. She didn't perform strength either. She just got very quiet. And then she got to work. The other thing that strikes me is what she chose not to do. She didn't stay to watch the consequences land, didn't wait for an apology she already knew wasn't coming. She just left, built something in a city that didn't know her name, stood in a quiet kitchen one ordinary morning on her own 2 feet and told nobody. That's not weakness. That's the hardest kind of strength, the kind that doesn't need a single witness. I chose this story because I think we tell people, especially people already carrying something heavy, to be grateful for whatever they're given, to make peace with less. And Jess spent 3 years doing exactly that, shrinking, accommodating, loving people who had long since decided she was just something to manage. She stopped, and everything started. If this one stayed with you, drop something in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're new here, welcome. We tell stories like this every week. I'm Anna. This is BC Stories, and I'll see you in the next one.